Welcome to The Secrets of Success. By following the proven techniques of the guests who appear on this series, you'll learn that even successful people run into detours and failures, and how you can apply their success techniques to change your life.
You're now listening to the most unique show on radio, the show dedicated to making you a success. Elizabeth Trinkaus wants you to be a myth crusher. Let's let her explain. Elizabeth, thanks for being with us today.
Oh, thank you so much. A pleasure to be here.
Elizabeth, your book is entitled Enough Already, and it starts out by saying, this book is for those who want to live with more joy and satisfaction. That means everybody's going to buy your book, right?
Absolutely, and they do.
And you point out, and you say more joy and satisfaction, but especially today, not just someday, but today. So I think we're all going to jump aboard that boat. That's definitely not getting out of the harbor, and it's probably going to sink with the weight. Now, you mentioned that the pursuit of someday has left us all depleted, disillusioned, and depressed. Can you tell us what you mean by that?
Absolutely. We have the mindset that our happy is out there somewhere, and if we just do enough, go faster, have more things, that we are going to be happy. And the book is reminding us to be in the present, that we are enough today. It's a step-by-step guide to crushing the myth that you have to do one more thing in order to be enough. And I want to be clear, it isn't about not having big dreams and goals. I am all about big dreams and goals. I coach people all over the world for that, support them in that. The most important thing is to get that we are enough today with all of our unmet goals, all of our perfect imperfections, as we are making our way to our dreams and fulfilling our visions.
And again, I think this is something for all of us and to our audience. This is actually a great book. If you're not what we call a reader, I think the entire book is about 113 pages or 120 pages. It's certainly very easy to read. It's one of those, if you can listen to the news at night, you'll finish half of it, and then the next night you can finish the next half of it. Now, in talking about this, and I think we all do that, I was thinking as I was going through your book, we're always looking at the next thing. Once I get my degree, once I get my promotion, once we move to the bigger house or the first house, we never seem to get there, wherever there is. So I think this is going to help a lot of us. But you mentioned in the book you're something called an empath. Is that right?
It is.
Tell us what that is, because I never heard that expression.
An empath is someone who is highly sensitive and feels other people's feelings. And it works very well in my coaching business. It's not so great out in the world if my antenna's up really high, so I have to do things to bubble up, if you will, and protect myself. I learned I was an empath early on in college when I was with a college roommate, and they had an earache, and I realized, wow, my ear is hurting, but it didn't feel like like I was sick or that I was coming down with something. It was like it wasn't really mine. I said, do you have an earache? And it really freaked her out, which I understand why. And I explained to her that I was able to feel this, and that it's actually really a gift. And I really own it and claim it. And again, it helps me with my clients, and it helps me help them move through old stories, limiting beliefs, things they're holding on to. And that's what an empath is, just being very, very highly sensitive and being aware of other people's feelings, highly aware. Somehow
it comes to me, and maybe this is just a dream sequence or mixing medias, but I thought there was a TV show or a movie or a detective series, something like that, where the man or woman was very sensitive to that, and they'd jump up and go, you're going to have a headache, or you're going to fall off a bridge tonight, be careful. And but throughout your book, you mentioned a few episodes of where this took place. Now, you mentioned something in your book about Precog sessions, and can you tell us what those are?
Yes. I studied counseling in college and got a degree, and then I studied many other modalities to help people with my coaching practice. Precog is a process of looking at our subconscious limiting beliefs, and it was developed by Dr. Rick Moss. And we all have beliefs, and it's very helpful to determine what we're telling ourselves. So we can say we want to be successful, but on an unconscious level, if we're telling ourselves that we are afraid of success or because of failure, as an example, we can literally stop ourselves. So we have the dream, I want to be successful. Precog, before thinking, with the subconscious, it can hold that story of, I'm so terrified of failure, that happened in my family. We can literally stop ourselves, stop the dream from happening.
Now,
so it's go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I thought you had stopped. Can you give us some examples of what some of these limiting beliefs would be in something either in your life or that you've seen with people you work with?
Yes. So the most common limiting belief and why I wrote the book is that we are somehow not enough. And it is the most common, and I thought I was the only one. I really did. I tried to hide the feelings of not feeling smart enough or not feeling pretty enough with boys or not feeling funny enough with friends. I went to school, got my counseling degree, started working with people, and I was like, oh my gosh, I am not the only one that feels this way. And through the help of great teachers and leaders myself, I have my own coach that I call on a regular basis, I have been able to shift the stories. So when I say stories, these are stories we are telling ourselves. It doesn't mean the not enough doesn't come up for me. It does every day. It is the opportunity to what I call PPL, which is be present, know what you're telling yourself. P, be positive. Shift from that doubting Dottie or Danny within us to the believing Betty or Bobby within us, and to be loyal. That to put yourself as a priority, because that's where real success happens. So I am always using these tools, and they really work. And I've been able to help thousands of people across the globe with this issue that's so very prevalent. I've actually created a movement. We're going from the not enough epidemic that we all have to the enough already movement.
I can't wait to see those T-shirts. I bet they're going to be spectacular. And I think you're going to have a lot of people, because I think we're all in that boat. We get one degree and we're already on the road to the next one. And we get the college degree, and then someone says, well, if you really want to excel in that field, you have to get your master's. And you're not going to get the real good job until you get the doctorate. And then you have to write a book. And by that time, you're dead. We want to enjoy some time in life. And you make some great points. Elizabeth, I'd like to let our audience know that if you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, and today we're talking to Elizabeth Trinkaus. She's the author of Enough Already. And Elizabeth, can you tell us where we can get the book and the website?
Absolutely. You can go to lizretreats.com. That is the website. And the book is on Amazon. Enough Already, Yes You Are.
And we'll ask you that later in the show, and if people didn't get that down, or if you want to know more about it. But if you're ready to make a change in life, and we always tell our guests every week that you have to take some action. It's nice to listen to Elizabeth. She'll have some great ideas for you. But if you're going to forget it in a day or two, get hold of the book.
Yes.
I like to underline books when I'm going through something, because then I go back and there's key sections or an anecdote that I want to remember. And the more you bring this out, the more you're going to move quickly on that path to success. If you're going to a vacation location, you don't want to be driving 20 miles an hour. You want the car to be going 40 or 50 or 60 or whatever the speed limit will allow. That's what we want you to do on the path to success. And Elizabeth makes some great points. Elizabeth, when we talk about ourselves, we always seem to be in the negative. And you mentioned how that steals the joy out of each day. And I'd like you to talk about that, because so many of us, I think we just tend to see the negative side of us no matter what, whether it's a hair out of place or a stain on, that little spot on a shirt that nobody else is going to see, but it bothers us. So could you talk about that?
Absolutely. And we've been programmed to do this. There is nothing wrong with you or me. We all do it. And we have the power to shift it. It's very cultural. It's going to be around for a long time, unfortunately. We have the power to shift our self-talk. I was working with a woman in New York City. Cisco flew me in to work with her. She was so stressed because she was telling herself she was never good enough. And she felt that way in every area of her job. She was the leader in this office. And when I got to her, she said that she was 150% work and didn't really believe anything would help. We began looking at her self-talk, and she was saying that what she was doing was not good enough. And she was working very hard, really long hours. And when she realized that it was her self-talk, she began shifting her self-talk. She actually began working less hours, but began working better, reminding herself that her best is enough, reminding herself that she is not going to get everything done on her to-do list. But being present and saying, you know what, my best is enough, had made a tremendous difference for her. She began closing her door, which she felt like she could never do, to catch up on emails. She began to answering phone calls. She would say, not now, but I'll get to you later, instead of yes, yes, yes. She lost weight. She quit smoking. She started eating better. Her team was a whole lot less scared of her. And she called me. She said, you're not going to believe it. I got a promotion and a raise, and I'm working less hours. And I completely believed it because she was making herself a priority. She was being present. She was shifting to that positive self-talk and taking care of herself. And that positive ripple effect made a huge difference within her and her team around her. So our self-talk is so huge. We have the opportunity to slow down, again, be present, shift from that critic, that incessant critic that we all have, to the voice of compassion. And if you don't know what to tell yourself, think about what you would tell a best friend. And we can get that so quickly. And tell yourself that, and be patient and let it sink in. You're not going to feel it right away, perhaps. But keep telling yourself these positive things, and it really, really works, and it changes the color of your whole day.
Elizabeth, you mentioned in your book that you say the experiences we have each day depends on who you listen to. What do you mean by that?
Whether we're listening to the critic, the incessant critic, that doubting Dottie or Danny sitting on your shoulder, or the encourager, the voice of compassion, believing Betty or Bobby. And we have the opportunity, we have the power to switch stations, if you will. I talk about that in the book. You know, when we're riding down the road and listening to the radio and a song comes on we don't like, we immediately we switch stations and we find a song we do like. We get in the habit of doing that with our self-talk. Shifting from that crappy station that's only depleting your energy and shifting to something that's inspiring, invigorating, and you know what, I've got this. With all of my perfect imperfections, I really want to emphasize that. It isn't when we are done or completed with everything, but it's the journey that matters, and that we are so kind to ourselves along the journey.
Elizabeth, we want to find out more about this, but at this point in the show, it's time for a break. It's time to let our audience know that they're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan. Today we're talking to Elizabeth Trinkaus, and we'll be right back after this break.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
Welcome back. You're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, and today we're speaking to Elizabeth Trinkaus, author of Enough Already. Elizabeth, in your book, you suggest that we list 10 of our accomplishments. Why should we do that?
When we list our accomplishments, Bill, we raise our vibration. Again, every thought holds a vibration, and when you are speaking kindly to yourself, thinking positively, you are giving yourself energy, literally. So making a list has you raise your vibration, feel better about yourself. And my clients make their list, read it, and they often say, you know what, I completely forgot about that and that and that and that. We're so used to looking at what we haven't done, what we haven't completed, where we are not, which of course depletes us and makes us live in that not enough epidemic state. Writing down your accomplishments has you go, you know what, I did that and that and that. And it encourages you to move forward with your dreams and visions with more energy and joy in the process, not in order to arrive at a destination, which we know never exists.
Now, another thing you talk about, and I like these drills because I think it really makes us stretch our mind, and it's easy to read something and get a little distracted, even if it's music or the doorbell or the mail person coming for us. But you say to imagine that we're 10 years older and list what we appreciate about life. What kind of answers do you get, and what is the point of that?
Again, we're often looking at our lives and thinking what we didn't do or how we don't look. And it is an opportunity to love ourselves where we are, how we are. And it doesn't mean we don't want to change things. I'm all about dreams and goals and being healthier and fulfilling your dreams. But it has us shift our mindset to being good to ourselves again, which is what this book is ultimately about. And there are many, many tools and exercises in the book, which this one is, which again has you really examining your life, who you are, being kind to yourself in the present moment, which is giving you energy for your dreams and goals. So you're actually enjoying the journey. In the book also is the chapter on the mirage, the idea that when we get closer to a mirage, we're driving down the road, we see the mirage, we get closer and closer, and it fades as you get closer. And then you just keep going, and you see another one, and it fades. It's so important that we don't do that with our life. You know, I'll be happy when, and fill in the blank. I'll be happy if, fill in the blank. And you get to that place, and then you're on to the next thing.
You have some very good questions in the book. There were sections I noticed, and it really makes people stop and pause. And if we do stop and pause, I think we're going to get a lot out of this book.
I agree. It's what it's all about. Bill, exactly. Stopping and pausing.
Elizabeth, you tell a story that a lady came up and thanked you for a workshop. And I found it a little unusual, but I want you to talk about it because you asked her to write her eulogy. Now, that's something we usually consider with death, right?
Yes.
So why, does that mean I'm looking a little pale, or you don't think I'm going to be around too long, or why was that, and what was the purpose of it?
Well, it's interesting. This woman saw me at a restaurant, and 10 years earlier, she had been at one of my workshops. And I had asked the group of women to write their eulogy. And the purpose of it is to look at all of the things, once again, that you've accomplished. And she said it completely changed her life, and I believed her. And it is an opportunity. It had her looking at where she is, all the things she's done, as opposed to how she's not enough, how she never felt enough, how she felt like she never really did enough, accomplished enough. It had her really shifting her mindset. I do women's retreats all over the world, and I have them write a poem, and they go, I'm not a poet, I can't do it. It's as simple as writing, who is she? And she is. Every sentence begins with she is. She is, she is. And once the women start writing, I have to make them stop. And it's powerful. I am a mother. I am a good friend. I am a powerful leader. I am intuitive. I am kind to strangers. And they keep going over and over and over. And it's really so important that we shift from this mindset that we are not enough, and we're always comparing ourselves to one another, and we're only looking at people we think are better than us, which is stealing our energy and joy. And it has us living powerfully in the present moment, which brings so much more joy and ease to the journey, and again, brings so much more inspiration to all of our dreams and goals.
And to our audience, if you're really sincere about wanting to be successful, changing your life for the better, and that might only mean 5% that you get a few more things that you want, or a few more relationships in life, or maybe just a few more friends, which for some people might be very easy, but for others very difficult. Elizabeth's book, Enough Already, by our guest Elizabeth Trinkaus, Trinkaus, is an easy way to get started, to make yourself think a little bit. And if you start doing it on your own, that may work, or you may want to get in touch with Elizabeth and catch up with one of her seminars and really expand this further and see how much you can gain in your life. Elizabeth, we'd like to remind our audience that if they're just tuning in, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan. Our guest today, as we said, is Elizabeth Trinkaus. She's the author of Enough Already. And can you tell us the website where we can find out more about this book?
Yes, lizretreats.com is the website, and it's available on Amazon.
And again, it's a short book. It's not something that's, if you're not kind of the person who says, well, I'm not really a reader. If you read a magazine article, it's a little longer than that, if you count all the words. But if you're going to change your life, I think it's worth doing a little reading, and it would take you less than a few breaks in a TV show or while you're waiting in a doctor's office, and it can make a big difference. Now, in your book, you mentioned about your half marathon story. Could you tell us why that's in there and the lesson you learned?
My half marathon story is about doing the thing in life that you thought you couldn't do. And I had some friends that were runners and were going to Phoenix for the Rock and Roll Marathon, and they invited me. And I walk and run a little bit every day, but I never considered myself a runner. And I allowed myself to go. At first, I said I wasn't going at all. I was actually annoyed that they even considered that I could be a runner. And I took myself there, and I told myself, just show up. And if you can't run it, you get to walk it. And if you can't walk it, guess what? Someone's going to pick you up and take you to the finish line. So I showed up, and what happened was I was able to run it, and it really changed my life. And it changed my life because I did something I told myself I couldn't do. And it had me looking at where else in my life have I said, I can't do that, and just completely dismiss it. And it's really shifted how I look at things. The things I say, hey, you know what, I can't do that. And you know what, maybe you can. And it was very, very empowering. And I had people who encouraged me, which I'm so very grateful for. And I encourage my clients to look at where in their life are you telling yourself you can't do this, and maybe you can.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say a lot of the run-ins magazines have stories where someone can barely walk because of an injury or an illness or a weight problem, a block.
Yeah.
And before you know it,
yes.
They've walked a block. And then the next day, not the next day maybe, but the next week, 2 blocks. And then
yes.
half a mile. And even if it's not a half marathon or a full marathon, which is a long way and a lot of time, but if someone could do 3 or 5 miles or expand it, I think the lesson you're teaching us is great in there. And it really will show us how far we can go. Before we wrap up, one of the things that I found fascinating, you said you have a list, or you talk about 10 things people regret most before they die. Well, we don't want that to happen, so would you warn us? What are some of those things we're going to regret if we don't do them?
Well, we're going to regret if we don't shift our self-talk. It's absolutely key that we are kind to ourselves if we want to feel better, and everyone wants to feel better. And the research I've done over the years, that is the main thing that we all can do that brings about the biggest results. So shifting self-talk is really, really important. I researched many people. A lot of people were saying, I need to travel more. I need to forgive more. I need to reach out to family members more. I need to tell my friends I love them more. It's an opportunity in the book to write your own list. And the book has many, many exercises in it on purpose. So it allows you to really stop and think about what are the stories you're telling yourself. Because if we're not paying attention to those, we're going to tell ourselves the same thing we did yesterday. And it may be that we can't do something, or that we're not quite good enough, or that we can't make that happen. And we want to examine those stories and be really open to shifting them to that more compassionate place within us, that more powerful place within us that really has us enjoying our life more today, moment by moment.
Elizabeth, we want to thank you and remind our audience the book is enough already. It's by our guest Elizabeth Trinkaus, Trinkaus. Please tell us the website one more time.
LizRetreats.com.
Thanks so much for being with us. Perhaps we'll all find success today, not someday, and we'll thank you for it because we're following your advice. We'd like to remind our audience that you've been listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, asking you to please join us again next week at the same time when we will continue our journey to success.